Okay, we're going to start, and the live stream will start when it starts. We appreciate everybody's patience and all of the work that they're dedicating to this. And there's also there's a TV channel that's also waiting to see it, so that's part of why, because a lot of us here, we know the issue, but further beyond, we need to make this a household word and be understood. So I'm going to start my part, if whoever is interpreting can come on up. All right. All right. My name is Sara Catalinotto. I'm a parent of 2 former school bus riders, a retired special educator, and for our vision impaired community, I'm a white woman. I'm wearing glasses and a leopard pattern shirt. I'll probably wear a mask when I'm not speaking. I'm a co-founder of Parents to Improve School Transportation, together with Johnny Stevens, who's coordinating our very complex incoming and outgoing video. It's February 4th, 2023. We're in Truman High School. It's Black History Month, and we're in the Co-op City area of the Bronx. This meeting has 4 short parts. I'm taking turns chairing with Rima Izquierdo, who will introduce herself shortly. Our American Sign Language interpreters today are Lisa Lockley, who's next to me, and Katie Peacock Helgi. We have a lot of people to thank by name, but it's such a long list that I'm going to break it into parts. On the publicity part, we need to thank the Co-op City Times, the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1181, which is the school bus drivers and attendants and mechanics, the Office of Public Advocate Jemani Williams, the parent coordinators on this campus, one of whom will speak a little later, the Citywide Council for District 75, and other partners and organizers who shared this event, and that's to be continued, as I said. Part 1 of the meeting is introducing the themes of today. So we want to connect this to National Transit Equity Day, fighting for accessible transportation, a clean planet, good jobs, and affordable rides so that everyone has an equal right to get where they need to go. We are going to have a short biography of Mrs. Rosa Parks, whose birthday lands today. She would have been 110, but her legacy is forever. We'll have some leaders from this campus and community say why school bus and accessible transit are important for all the generations here. And then we're going to talk about a video that's available for us to get around to, and I'll talk about it when we get there. Okay. So, here comes Journelle Clark. She's a mom and educator, and she's going to do a biography of Mrs. Rosa Parks from the NAACP.
Hi, my name is Journelle Clark, and for the visually impaired, I am a brown African-American female with braids, and I'm wearing a black sweatshirt. I'm going to read a short biography of Rosa Parks in honor of her birthday. So this biography is from the NAACP website. Rosa Parks occupies an iconic status in the civil rights movement after she refused to vacate a seat on a bus in favor of a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1955, Parks rejected a bus driver's order to leave a row of 4 seats in the colored section once the white section had filled up and moved to the back of the bus. Her defiance sparked a successful boycott of buses in Montgomery a few days later. Residents refused to board the city's buses. Instead, they carpooled, rode in black-owned cabs, or walked, some as far as 20 miles. The boycott dealt a severe blow to the bus company's profits of dozens of public houses stood idle for months. The boycott was led by a newcomer to Montgomery named Martin Luther King Jr. Intentional act. At the time, Parks led the youth division at the Montgomery branch of NAACP. She said her anger over the lynching of 14-year-old Emmett Till and the failure to bring his killers to justice inspired her to make her historic stand. 4 days before the incident, Parks attended a meeting where she learned of the acquittal of Till's murderers. In her autobiography, Rosa Parks' My Story, 1992, Parks declares her defiance was an intentional act. I was not tired physically, or no more tired than I usually was at the end of a working day. I was not old, although some people have an image of me as being old then. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. As a result of her defiance, Parks was arrested and found guilty of disorderly conduct. NAACP joined her appeal, a case that languished in the Alabama court system. Segregation on public buses eventually ended in 1956 after a Supreme Court ruling declared it unconstitutional in Browder versus Gale. Parks was not included as a plaintiff in the decision since her case was still pending in the state court. Joining the fight in Detroit. In addition to her arrest, Parks lost her job as a seamstress at a local department store. Her husband, Raymond, lost his job as a barber at a local Air Force base after his boss forbade him to talk about the legal case. Parks and her husband left Montgomery in 1957 to find work, first traveling to Virginia and later to Detroit, Michigan. Parks supported the militant Black Power movement, whose leaders disagreed with the methods of the nonviolent movement represented by Martin Luther King. Her break with other Montgomery leaders over the future of the civil rights struggle contributed to her departure from the southern city. Parks was struck by the similarity in treatment of African Americans in Detroit, finding that schools and housing were just as segregated as they were in the South. She joined the movement for fair housing and lent her support to local candidate John Conyers in his bid for Congress. After he was elected in 1965, Conyers repaid the favor by employing Parks as the secretary in his Detroit office, a position she held until her retirement in 1988. In the role, Parks worked with constituents on issues such as job discrimination, education, and affordable housing. Parks remained active in the civil rights movement in the 1960s and helped investigate the killing of 3 black teenagers in a 1967 race riot in Detroit. Death and legacy. Over the course of her life, Parks received many honors, including NAACP's Springer Medal in 1979, the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1996, and the Congressional Gold Medal in 1999. After Parks died in Detroit in 2005 at the age of 92, She became the first woman to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C. California, Missouri, Ohio, and Oregon commemorate Rosa Parks Day every year, and highways in Missouri, Michigan, and Pennsylvania bear her name.
Thank you so much, Journelle. We need that inspiration. I just want to say, while Rima's coming up, that we have to thank Elias Ellis, who's the brother of a school bus rider, for representing Parents to Improve School Transportation and this issue in the national live stream that's also taking place now, which is a wide coalition of labor and community groups across the United States and Canada, I believe. So, all right. So, a face that's familiar to some of you. We're gonna work our way over here. And we have Rima.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here in Truman High School in Co-op City in the Bronx. My name is Rima Izquierdo. I am the parent of 4 New York City students, one who goes to school on this campus in the District 75 program, who rides the bus for the last 14 years. I have 2 other students in District 8 who have been riding the bus for the last 6 and 8 years. And I have a high school student in District 12 who rides MTA, because we couldn't figure out busing soon enough, and we travel trained him. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm the PTA president at 176X, which is co-located on the Truman campus, and we also have sites at Evander, Pathways, and 181. I'm also the Bronx High School President's Council President, and I would like to thank everybody for being here on behalf of both organizations to celebrate Rosa Parks' birthday and to fight for transit equity for all. Transit equity is a huge issue, particularly in the Bronx and on this campus and in Co-op City. There are a lot of traffic issues, access issues, equity issues, and they all merge together in this place. And so we appreciate that you're here with us in this space, fighting for students to get to school on time, fighting for students to have access for transportation, to get to after-school programs, to get to enrichment programs, advanced programs, programs that are very specialized to specific disabilities and difficulties. And thank you very much to all of the staff, parents, advocates that came out on this frigid day, those that are at home watching on YouTube, those that fight for equity and access every single day, for the staff who take our kids and who fight for themselves to get equal pay and access and unions. Everybody wants kids to get to school on time, and it's everybody's obligation to be a part of this and do whatever we can to make sure that the future is there for us when we need them. So thank you for being here, and back to our program.
Okay, and due to other technical concerns, I'm going to describe where you can see videos about the School Bus Bill of Rights. So if you didn't get a flyer, that's a term we want you to remember. I'm going to describe more about it later in the program, but the film is a professional quality production with that title, School Bus Bill of Rights. So if you search on YouTube, you will find that, and it has ASL interpretation included. And we have learned that on YouTube, once you choose the closed captions, you can then choose auto translate and convert the words on the screen to one of a choice of 190 languages, and you can also drag it somewhere else if it's in the way of something else you need to see on the bottom of the screen. We are hoping that that tool, which interviews parents, siblings, the new president of the school bus union, and shows a lot of how this fight has developed over the years and what we're going for, and how it connects to civil rights, how it connects to human rights, declared by the United Nations, that kids deserve equal access to school, no matter whether they live in temporary housing, no matter whether they have a mobility or intellectual or other kind of disability. They shouldn't get a shorter school day than the other kids because of this nonsense. So that's why we're here, and that's why our initials are PIST. We're going to, this point, let's see, I'm turning it over back to Rima for the section on how it's going this school year, and just so you know, the section after that is the open floor for Q&A and some messages of support. So here's Rima again.
Good afternoon again. I will be chairing this part of the session, and I will be calling up speakers who will be discussing different aspects of the equity fight and how it affects different constituents and different calls to action. So without further ado, I would like to present Ronald Hartridge, the P176X Parent Coordinator and DC37 Union Head. Also a neighbor on the Timon campus, so Ed Park campus, for a bunch of schools, and thank you so much, Mr. Hartridge. Be patient, please. Be patient. Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. In my many years here, I've learned, no, I don't want that close. I start to yell. My clam starts to come out. Good morning, everybody, and from my heart, I want to give you a big welcome. I think that this is something that is extremely overdue on this campus in particular. My name is Ronald Hartridge. I am the founding parent coordinator of PS153. We like to put a new adjective to it. The reason why I wanted to throw that out that way is because I actually took this job with no intentions of staying in the Department of Education, other than the fact that my youngest child was going to kindergarten the year that this position opened. And then I got there and didn't know I would be an advocate until they pissed me off. I actually, in 6 months, had people sign a petition to get rid of me. That was 19 years ago, and I don't know what happened to those people, but I'm still here. So, at PS153, and thank you for adding about the union, because I witnessed, so I thank you for doing that, because I do take that very seriously. In my work at PS153, after about 6 years, we lost our busing coordinator. Great lady was Grant. She was excess. So my mind said, how do you excess a person that has such an important role at the school? So what I would do while she was on the job is I would bring coffee and donuts to the many parents that waited online to see that one person in the school where we serviced over 600 kids with about half of that population being busing children. If you do not know, PS153 is one of the few schools that still houses the Gifted and Talented program, which means that we are open to the whole district. We get a lot of families from the Parkchester area, which, as we all know, had a metamorphosis over the last decade to African and Middle Eastern families. So a language issue came up, and transportation became the spotlight on what will we do to get these kids in a academic setting that they qualify for. So with that, as Ms. Grant moved on, and luckily, I guess for the school, I had a background in limousine. I used to have a limousine business on 213th Street, called Star Crystal Limousine. That's the first time I've mentioned that in a decade. But knowing that I had a transportation background and the landscape of the office, aides, and sometimes paras, who really didn't have the diligence that was needed to secure transportation, and have that next level to be very personal about it. Not that they couldn't, it just didn't show up. I took over busing, went down and met two fabulous gentlemen, Lou Kennedy and Mr. Jacobson, who then worked at OPT when it was still a full-service entity to me, to our community. They trained me hand and foot. They came up to the school, they showed I knew how to key in stuff and everything. But my question to them all along was, but what do I do when I can't get a kid on a bus? What do I do when a mother who's physically impaired can't walk 3 blocks to get to the Senate stop because you won't get this kid a door-to-door because he himself is not impaired? So, to that effect, I was the transportation coordinator for quite a few years before I became rebellious. And even then, as one of my parents who's here can attest, I still do transportation. But at the end of the day, transportation, as some of us here know from the sweat and work that you do, it's all about relationships. If you don't know that bus driver, if you don't know that dispatch, if you don't know the people at OPT that do the routing in your particular district or zone, you're going to be way behind anything in terms of advocating to make this an easier ride. With that said, I do want to highlight one particular issue that we're having at PS 153 that is really close to my heart because this has been a 2-year battle. And it's funny, when I met Sara, I was at a point where I was ready to get people really mad at me, but as we know, that's not the way to do this. You can make them uncomfortable, but don't make them mad. At least don't make them mad without knowing the proper people. So, I learned a little bit more. I walked the routes that were needed. There's one route in particular I want to highlight on. The kids from Park just to get on one big stop at Metropolitan and Williamsbridge Oval. Is that right? Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, I have a couple of families that are expanding in that particular area who live about 5 blocks to 6 blocks down the block that the bus actually drives down when it picks up from Metropolitan. So, you know, I'm thinking, no, this is a slam dunk. We're going to get a bus. Of course they'll stop and pick you up. You're waving at your classmates as they go by. Well, it's now going on 2 years and we're still trying to get that stop 5 blocks down. We're in the height of the cold, and I thank God that today, the coldest day is on a Saturday instead of a weekday where that family would have had to traipse 5 blocks down in order to get their kids to a fixed location. These families have been very diligent, and I will thank them in advance because I know some of them are on the stream watching. And yes, I live up to my word. I told you I'd talk about your situation because we do have many after school, but this is one that I think if we can somehow find a better solution, it will offset the other issues that we may have at busing. We do probably more busing at the elementary level than any other elementary school in this area. I know we do more than 178. I know we do more than 160 because we also have the 596 cohabitating in our space. So between their buses and ours, you know, it's a big to do. And for those of you who do not know, just short of maybe 1,000 kids get bused to this complex on a daily basis. We start busing from, I would say, 7:40 in the morning to about 9 o'clock. And when I say to 9 o'clock, I mean to 9 o'clock. As one age group goes through, another age group comes through, another demographic comes through, and at the end of the day, what alarms me is that we're all individualized in the system. We should all be one. Busing is busing, whether it's special needs, whether it's a gifted and talented kid that needs it, whether it's a kid that's zoned within the community that can't get busing, you know, because they're coming from a far stretch. We have to have one table that speaks to all of that. Otherwise, everybody's legs are getting taken away while we fight these little battles to make a bigger splash. So I urge all parents who are watching my stream, our elected officials, please pay a little bit more attention to PIST. Let those letters resonate with you. This is an advocacy group that, if done right, will spill over into a lot of other areas in education for our kids. I do want to close with where I met Sara was CS 55, my childhood school down in the Claremont section of the Bronx. The gentleman who runs that school, I feel, is probably the most dynamic principal in all of the Department of Education. Luis Torres, he is my brother. Louis, big shout out. Just recently wrote a book called The 6 Priorities. I actually have the book in my bag today. I was sharing it with my friend Alfred. I find this very interesting because all of us have kids in school, right? So the minute you think of school, right off the bat, the first thing that comes out is, okay, they gotta get educated, they gotta get educated. I'm here to tell you that's a rumor or a myth that needs to be changed. The narrative has to change. I thank Brother Torres for giving me as a parent coordinator and sharing that with my colleagues, our dynamite. This is what you need to work with. There are 5 things ahead of education. As he said, education is not the first priority for the average family that has to go through what we do in the Department of Education. It's behind, and I'll make sure I get these right, it's behind food, health, safety, shelter, and here's the biggie, access to technology. Now, if we can get those 5 things right, transportation will be a slam dunk. Because they say that transportation is married to education, right? But we have to recognize who's walking in our door every day. And I think that little Johnny or Joe has a broken home or somebody who don't care about them because they may seem like they have an attitude. You don't know how that kid slept. You don't know if that kid ate. You don't know if that kid's sick or not. And behind COVID, we all know that that's a big scenario that's very real. But at the end of the day, I applaud, I'm not trying to push Louis Torres' book more than those 5 principles. Please pay closer attention to those as we advocate. Advocate, as they say, teach the whole child. Well, let's advocate for the whole child and family as we move forward in this space of transportation. So Sara, I thank you for having me out. Folks, I thank y'all for what y'all do. This is no small undertaking. I wish we had more bodies. I'm chalking it up to the poll and maybe that your live stream too. But this is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm at PS 153. Anything I can ever do. Y'all got me for 5 more years. I signed up, 5 more years. I feel like this is my last tour duty. But whatever I can do for you in those 5 years, I've been known to have a lot of connections. If I can share those connections with you, please by all means, ring the phone. I'm here for you. Thank you so much. God bless us. Have a great 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Hartridge. That was wonderful. A lot there to unpack. But I'm going to let the next speaker go, and then we'll unpack later. Without further ado, Lupe Hernandez, Community Education Council member, super advocate, mom, all the wonderful.
Thank you. You guys hear me? My name is Lupe Hernandez, and for the visual impaired, I am a Latina woman with black pants, earth tone sweater, and glasses. And I am very happy to be here with all of you. I want to give a big special thank you to the Harry Truman High School, PS Bronx 176. I'm here as a parent representative. I do serve on the Community Education Council for District 2. I am the Manhattan Borough representative, and I'm here to speak to you guys about the winning school bus Bill of Rights. There's a huge trend here and within the parent council's resolutions and community board feedback on school transit equity. These documents send a signal to the city that our riders and workers need real systemic change. Here are some of the updates and ways that we all can help. In October of 2021, the Citywide Council on Special Education passed an extensive resolution on pupil transportation demands, which overlaps with the early wording of School Bus Bill of Rights. Some of us reworked that resolution for the 2022-23 school year, and it is circulating in parent organizations around the city. The groups have passed it unanimously on the first votes were Community Education Council for District 4 in East Harlem, the District Parent Advisory Council for District 8 in the Bronx for Title I, the Parent Teacher Association of P176 in the Bronx here, as well as Manhattan's District 2 Community Education Council. We have copies of this resolution on the literature table out front if you want to promote this set of demands. Please comment. Let us know if we can be in any assistance, and we could get whatever support you might be able to need. I also want to point out that the Manhattan Community Board 4 wrote a letter to the city in August of 2022 about improving student busing. This reflected meetings they held with the representatives here at PIST NYC as well as the DOE. And we will have that letter available on our website. That's pistnyc.org. In December, Manhattan Community Board 4 wrote another letter requesting an audit of OPT and by the NYC's Comptroller's Office with consideration of reallocating routes to the nonprofit Nice Bus. That's in New York City's school bus umbrella services. There are some copies of that letter on the table out front, and the NYC Comptroller's Office replied acknowledging the importance of this matter. On Monday, February 6th, Manhattan Community Board 2 holding its education committee with the guest speaker from PIST. Sara will be there. They also invited OPT speaker who declined after seeing the questions that we posed. This is a public virtual meeting, so anyone here can view this and listen and or support the issues during the comment section. So please reach out to us if you'd like to attend. And also, if you want to raise your own local community boards and education committees to do some research and take a position on improving school bus rights, let's work together. Please come see myself, Rima, or Sara, and we're all here to help. We know that school busing is a decade-old issue, and I think the DOE is definitely hearing our cries, but I think solutions are going to be what we need to start talking about. So I appreciate everyone here and much respect, giving lots of love for National Transit Equity Day and sending lots of love to Rosa Parks, so thank you.
Thank you, Lupe. We appreciate that. Okay. Thank you so much. And our next speaker will be Sara Catalinotto.
Okay, well, if I had known that, I would have waited. We do have more people from the community, and I'm gonna take the next level of what's been raised. The School Bus Bill of Rights started as a conversation between PIST and the union about, what could be feasible and legal that we could call on the city to do that would improve what was happening, because even then, over 10 years ago, they would lay off all of the workers for the summer, except, in the year-round programs, those who took those jobs, and they would not bring them all back on the first day of school. They would wait until everything was just so and put kids on buses and fill the buses, and then they would have to reshuffle and split these kids up, and it was very unsettling, especially for a child like mine who has issues with transitions and surprises. And we got to the bottom of that by speaking to those workers, and we also learned that they have a thing called employee protection provisions, which the city was beginning to threaten. And when it came to 10 years ago this month and last month, there was a strike because the city did take its cues from these companies who are profit-oriented and gave them a way to work around that, remove that EPP from their contracts, and it just drove the wages down and it drove the people away. And this is a big explanation, even when you call OPT, for why you have a long route. Okay, why your child is on one group and then the driver has to go get another group. So we're fighting to ease their situation in order to ease the children's situation, and that's one of the points. But we've also found that it's the parent coordinators, the students, the disability adults in the, who are active, who remember and have this knowledge, and it's the parents in these councils who take all the complaints. We already know the kind of things that would make sense. Rima comes every time I talk to her up with a great idea, like why don't they have long hours on Thursday where people can call after work instead of getting fired because you're on the phone with OPT for an hour and a half a day. And just so many other things that we feel there needs to be a task force, but more like a really watchdog, but with teeth. So to empower a panel of these labor representatives and these parent and community representatives who really care what happens on the bus and get the kids to school on time. So our school bus Bill of Rights features are specific things like splitting the ages and, making provisions for siblings, a lot of practical things that people dream of that the Office of People Transportation has not seen its way clear to do because they are prioritizing the whole business end of things. The way that we could make that a law here is to petition to change the city charter. And it's a big deal, it's hard to do, but a very knowledgeable election lawyer expert is working with us, and we are going to get the petition filled out that has the right wording for what I was just describing. And then we need a lot of forces. We need people to take those petitions, get them signed, sign as a witness, get people registered to vote. There may even be stipulations that you had to have voted the time before in order to even be the witness on this petition. So we're working out those details, but I really, really hope that out of this meeting and all our meetings this spring, we will get a on-the-ground force to go into, to get these petitions wherever you can. And I'm curious in the Q&A section if people have thoughts about that, or if it's something that you can't do it in your PTA because it's political. We need to know, our strategies going forward with that, because that's a big challenge. But even if we didn't win it, you submit it, it's on the ballot, so everybody gets that circular that says these are the ballot proposals, and everybody knows, oh, there is a solution to this nonsense. It just has to come from those who are the real stakeholders in how it turns out. So that's pretty much what I needed to say, and I hope we will. I don't know what the clock says, but I'm just going to stop and hear what else there is to learn today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sara. I'm going to give our interpreters a moment to transition. Thank you. Thank you much, appreciate it. Our next speaker will be Wanda Ivette Balines.
Are you serious? You haven't progressed?
Talent and fantastic advocate by Ms. Wanda. Wanda was also our volunteer Spanish interpreter for today, so thank you.
I really Hola, Wanda.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am really nervous.
I am not accustomed to public speaking. Thank you for the opportunity for addressing you all. My name is Wanda Ivette Balines. I'm a Spanish interpreter. That's my regular job. I am the mother of a 15-year-old daughter who has special needs. She goes to a District 75 school. Alexa is in a 10th grade high school. Long story. I will try to make it really short. Alexa has severe allergies, insect bites, nuts here and there. I've been trying for many years to make sure that the bus is climate controlled. During the summer, especially let's start in the spring, they tend, if there's no AC in the bus, they tend to leave the windows open. And a bug might go in. If a bug beats her or anything, I asked at some point the matron of the bus when I noticed that if they were willing to take Alexa to the emergency room if something happens to her. They look at me like I was crazy. They didn't know what to do. Are you prepared to give her the EpiPen? They look at me like I was crazy. They didn't even know what an EpiPen was. I remember bringing it to the attention to my parent coordinator. I said, who do I speak to? That was when Alexa was in 1st grade. Long story short, they haven't done nothing about that. I remember, I think it was when I met Rima, she asked me to do a translation of a document, a news article. But it was from, PIST. I did the translation of that article for the New York Post, and I learned so much. So I get to investigate and read and do research a little bit more in depth. So I learned about you, and it intrigued me. So I've been getting a little bit more involved. It has been great. Fast forward this past October the 29th, the bus driver for my daughter's school, he passed away. I was completely blown away. He was telling me that Friday before that he was looking forward to see Alexa wearing her Halloween costume. And that Sunday after, the matron of the bus called me, Wanda, Bienvenido passed away. I was completely shocked. And I was like, oh, I'll take Alexa tomorrow on Monday. It's October the 31st. I'll take Alexa to school. Oh my goodness, Alexa became violent. My daughter is completely non-violent. That was completely shocking. She was slapping absolutely everybody. My daughter is a very mild person. I couldn't believe it. What happened? My daughter doesn't take easy me taking her to school. She needs to take the bus. She was so angry because she thought that I was taking her someplace else. I took the train, took the bus to get her to school. We got to the school around 9:30 in the morning. To make the story a little bit longer, shorter, the school within next week called me why I am not sending my daughter to school. And I was like, what? The bus is coming to pick her up every single morning around 7:45 in the morning. I have a GPS tracker on her cell phone. My daughter is getting to school every single day, ever since then, after 9 a.m. They send me the notification, they send me email. I am part of the school leadership team. I've been the president of the parent association since Alexa started in kindergarten. I have a very close relationship with all the principals that she has, the school that she has attended to, that she has gone to. When I received that call and that email, I was like, what are you talking about? I do have the GPS and the information, everything, and I sent a screenshot My daughter has been in your school every single day getting into the school after 9 a.m. You need to be talking to whoever is doing the attendance. You need to work on that. As of right now, my daughter is still getting to school after 9 a.m. The bus driver gets to the school after 9 a.m. She's doing 2 routes. My daughter is getting at home around 5 in the afternoon, and the bus picks her up around 3:45 in the afternoon when she gets up from instruction time around 2:20. I cannot go to school to pick her up. It's hellish. And I remember talking to Mr. Brad Lander when he was doing the rounds, that please vote for me because I'm gonna do a great job. And I remember coming to him and telling him, listen, can you look into the contracts of the bus companies? Because I don't believe that Lorinda Bus Company, GBC, or Don Thomas, I don't know any other companies, not at the top of my mind. Are there not any other bus companies out there? What about talking about medical transportation in case I can call somebody, come pick up my daughter, take her to school. I will have somebody take her to school with you. Then no, we cannot do that. I don't know, do we have that many little companies? I figure this is something that perhaps needs to be addressed because there cannot be those only 3 companies. I don't know if there's any more. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you. Have a good day. And as an interpreter, always at your service. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Super appreciated. Our next speaker will be Miss April Parks.
That was scary.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is April Parks. I am the Title I District Parent Advisory Council Chair for District 11. I am the Title I Chair for PS 483 in the Bronx. I am the citywide DPAC representative for District 11. I have been a Title I advocate for over 30 years. And this is an epic day because due to that, we do have a large busing issue within the Ed Park area. This is also one of my former schools that I was a PTA president back in 2004. So this is an awesome occasion to be able to speak on behalf of the advocacy of transportation, busing, equity. For the seeing impaired, I am wearing a royal blue sweatsuit, pink shirt, and I'm wearing a hat that says Community School District 11. It is beige, and I do have glasses on, and I'm an African-American mother. I just like to expand on something. For our PTA representatives, as Ms. Sara stated, we can, and I am asking, especially all of District 11 PAs to sign on board. There is a resolution that PIST has that is being circulated, and I'm asking all PTAs, all Title I PACs, to please pass those resolutions in their school. The DPAC will be putting his resolution on our next agenda. And the President's Council of District 11, we do have joint meetings, so both resolutions should be voted on at the same time. This is a very important, I don't even want to say an issue, because issues we've been working out. It has been a problem that we need to resolve. Our children are not only getting to school late, and I feel so, sometimes our heart gets overwhelmed because when our parents are calling us as advocates
and they're crying, and they're saying, we have people threatening us about ACS cases that our kids are not getting to school on time, or they absent because your bus didn't show up. It got there too late. The parent may not be financially stable to call a cab to take their child to school. And we always know that especially our children with IEPs and special needs, they need consistency. Sometimes the cab driver is not somebody that they're comfortable with, and it causes them to have an episode in transportation and during the way of going to school and home, and sometimes that can be very dangerous for a child, the driver, and the parent. So there is so many parts to helping children to get to where they need an education. Not only just busing, but we're going to speak on Metro cards. Because what happens is, unfortunately, is we do have our older children that the DOE should be held accountable on the partnership, internship, because this is what we state in our district CEPs, in our school CEPs, that we partnership and we follow our children from high school to college. We make sure that we're supposed to keep in contact with them, support them, give them the resources and the services to make sure that they be able to be successful in their life going forward. And what happens is a lot of our children, IEP students, even our Gen Ed students, need to take transportation and they travel on the buses and the trains. And what's happening is they have internships, programs, support services that are done on the weekends, that their Metro cards are not working on the weekend. We have our students, some of their internships, because they're older, some of them do have jobs. Our IEP students, we are supposed to support as per the department. Let me correct this. Our chancellor said, we are no longer the Department of Education. We are now New York City Public Schools. So since we changed that, because it demands respect on the students, then let's make sure we keep it on the students. And we have them that go to work sometimes, and they're getting off late. Even the chancellor has stated last Thursday, in our meeting that we had with the NAACP in Co-op City, the Bronx, and he gave a situation of a young man that was at the PSAL. It's a good student, didn't have no problems or anything else. He was doing the right thing by going to a program, and he got shot in the face. Now, what happens is, we need to be able to support our children with getting home safely. Their Metro cards are not working after a certain time. We need that to be more unlimited on the time frame that the Metro cards are now cut off. Like I said, we need unlimited days because there are services that are done. Even some of our IEP students have services on Sundays that their parents don't have money to be able to travel with their students to these services. But then if they don't go to the services, now they're going to tell them they're taking the service away from them because they can't get there. And now you have a parent that is stressed, don't know what to do, how to do it, and they want to give their child every opportunity that they need to give their child, and they cannot do it. So as per the New York City Public Schools, I say that we need to work better and making sure that our students get what they need. We also have students that now they are transferring from, especially high school students, the Metro cards are transferring from the beginning of winter, and now they're going into the spring and summer Metro cards that some schools did not get yet. And their Metro cards are expired. And our children are trying to get on a train and their Metro cards are not working. To avoid our children, and we know today is not a time for our minority children to be jumping the train station to get home. We had a safety meeting with the police department, and the transit police said there are certain train stations that they actually are at, and they leave the gate open at the end of dismissal, so then the kids can go in so they don't get in trouble. But guess what? That is not at the main train stations or where we need it to be. Like Southern Boulevard and 174th Street, which has at least 5 schools in the same area, and they're all getting on a train, but there is no access for our children to be able to get on that train. If they maybe didn't have their train pass that day, maybe they requested one from the school and they didn't get it yet, and everything like that, the kids don't have it. So what's happening is the principals have to now, and I thank God we have principals that are truly supporting their students in their schools, they have to sit back, especially the principal of East Bronx Academy for the future, Ms. Grogan, and I thank her so much. She gets on the phone and she has the transit police, we call them white shirts, on speed dial on her phone. So when her student is now being arrested, being pulled to the side, given summonses, Ms. Grogan will go back and she will advocate for her students, and she will call and say, listen, this can't be happening. Y'all supposed to have been doing this. You're supposed to have the gate open. What are you going to do for our children? At those train stations, there is no one in the token booth during the day. So the kids don't have nobody, because they say, oh, the kids can ask. Who are they asking to open the gate? So we cannot have our children having unnecessarily having charges, things that can be on the back of our children that follows them and now can harm their reputation, harm who they are as a person, when it is now say that it's time for them to go for a job, or to go for an internship, or to go for a scholarship, because those things can now have an impact on them getting accepted at a college of their choice. See, we're talking Title I, that's my job. And we're talking education is one of the largest and is the main issue of Title I, is to make sure that every way that is possible to make sure that the children are getting an education is under Title I. So we want to make sure that them funds are being used correctly for the transportation department. OPT, please make sure you take into account that all of our children are important. In New York City public school, children do matter. So we are asking to make sure that once again, the Metro cards are extended out for up to 7 days. The time frame that our Metro cards is to be extended so they can be able to have the money to get home. 2, to make sure that our buses, and please work on our schedule of our buses, not only does it affect our IEP students, but we're going to make sure we let it be known that it's our gen ed students, it is our students in temporary housing, it's our students, English language learners. So please make sure you look into correcting that on behalf of our children. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Parks and Ms. Balines, our community members that were surprised to have the ability to speak, but spoke so eloquently we thought they planned it. So we have another speaker from the community. Trying to get her to look up at me. So we have another speaker. Our speaker's name is Milagros Cancel, and she's from Timon Family Services, and she is the president. So without further ado, Ms. Cancel. And because we have a volunteer interpreter, Ms. Cancel, we always appreciate that she speaks in her native language in Spanish, and now we have somebody that can interpret in English.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. Voy a hablar español e inglés un poco. Hablo español y yo todo lo digo en inglés. Okay, vamos a ubicar. Yeah, I think, yeah.
We appreciate everybody because we got a coordinated interpretation, access for all and equity is exactly what we're talking about. Thank you for your patience.
No, I'm just giving the instructions that she needs to lower her mask because I will not be looking at her face, so she needs to demonstrate her words. Okay, habla bien.
Yeah, pausa. So just for everybody, because we're doing double interpretation, so I'm going to clarify for everybody. Ms. Milagros is going to speak in Spanish slowly. Ms. Balines is going to interpret in English, and while she's interpreting in English, the ASL interpreter will be interpreting what Ms. Milagros said. Thank you. So just bear with us. It's going to be cool.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Mi nombre es Milagros Cancel,
My name is Milagros Cancel,
fundadora y presidenta
founder and president,
Timon Family Service Team.
Timon Family and Service Team.
También soy madre de niños con impedimento autista.
Also mom of children with autism.
Hoy es el cumpleaños de Rosa Parks,
Today is the birthday of Rosa Parks,
una activista
an activist
que luchó por los derechos civiles
that fought for civil rights.
Es un ejemplo que usamos
It's an example that we use
para la lucha del transporte escolar
for the fight of school transportation
y los derechos civiles,
and civil rights.
también para mejorar las condiciones de empleo
Also to improve the conditions of work conditions
para los choferes y matronas
for the drivers and the bus matrons
que necesitamos para nuestros estudiantes en la guagua,
that we need for our students in the school buses.
Rosa Parks,
Rosa Parks
una activista
was an activist
que empezó con un grupo pequeño en la lucha,
who started with a small group in this fight.
así PIST y las organizaciones que estamos con PIST en la lucha del transporte escolar,
With like PIST and the organizations that are in the same fight as PIST.
es una manera para luchar por nuestros derechos,
It's a way to fight for our rights,
ya que se siguen violentando
as we still fighting, violating,
los derechos de nuestros niños de educación especial,
since they're still violating the rights of our children with special needs.
Esto es de humanidad,
This is a humanity thing,
no es solamente los derechos,
not only the rights.
hay que pensar en nuestros hijos,
We need to think of our children and our kids.
que son los que sufren en las guaguas,
They are the ones that suffer in the buses,
y el sistema no lo ve así,
and the system don't see it like that
porque no quiere aprobar un IPP.
because they don't want to approve an EPP.
No es solamente un IPP, sino que no quiere aprobar los cambios
Not only an EPP, but they don't want to approve some changes
que los activistas y organizaciones
that the activists and the organizations
hablan para que
Just see that.
Para que haya cambios,
For there's going to be some changes.
estamos en el año de la tecnología.
We are in the year of technology.
Es una vergüenza
It's a shame
que no hayan cambios ni mejora para nuestros estudiantes.
that there are no changes or improvements.
So, hoy
So today,
exhortamos a todos los que nos están viendo y los que están aquí
we are encouraging everybody who are listening to us and they are here today
que sigamos la lucha
that to continue our fight and our fight,
para luchar por los derechos
to fight for the rights
de nuestros niños
for our children
y de nuestros trabajadores.
and our workers.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you much, everybody. Fantastic. So I always share these things, and then I get into like, now I gotta speak because everybody was talking, and I feel like I got things to say. So I made a little list. All right, so I'm gonna tell a little bit about my story, and I'm not gonna make it short. All right, so I have 3 kids that take the school buses. 8 years old, 10 years old, 16 years old. My 16-year-old has been on the bus since he was 2. My 10-year-old has been on the bus since he was 3. My 8-year-old had to fight for 3 years to get on the bus because of a sibling priority for a program for students with disabilities that is not available in my district. But I had to send both my kids to the same school because 4 schools is unreasonable, right? It's undue hardship, right? Let's use the language of the land. And, but we didn't get busing. And it affected my daughter's attendance and her lateness, right? Because, you know, latenesses, they say are like absences and you're missing instruction. But at the same time, it was the system denying me access to the transportation that I needed. I was actually told I lived too far, which is what transportation is for, is if you live far to help you get there. Well, I lived too far, which was 2 blocks out of district. So for 2 blocks, 3 years I had to take my child to school. And for those of us, because we talked about Parkchester, that's where we live. And my child goes to school in Throgs Neck because that's where the program is available. That is where the closest program is. There's only 4 programs in the Bronx that have the program that my son needs. So we fought for busing for 3 years, and I appreciate that OPT was finally able to make a concession to get my kids on the same bus. So my daughter is the only gen ed student that I know of in the city that rides on a special education bus due to a sibling priority. That should be the standard for everybody. You know, that's something I fought for, I advocated for, people helped me advocate for, but that's something that should be available to everybody because students with disabilities require access to certain programs. Their siblings should be granted access under the sibling priority and undue hardship for families to be able to go to school. On the bus that was already coming to my house, that was already going to that school that they told me my daughter couldn't get on because we don't put those kids on the bus together. I have both kids, so those kids are my kids and then these kids are mine. So I think that as a group I'd like to advocate for us to stop thinking in terms of those and these. They are all our kids. Thank you. And I'll say that again. They are all our kids. I want to go back to something Mr. Hartridge said. So he got 5 years left, I got 5 years left. So we're going to 5 years, fight for this campus to not be the way it was when we got here. So my kid's been here since 6th grade. My student is in a District 75 program, so he's here till he's 21 years old. When we got here, we fought for our bus to get here on time. We fought for a bus para that I didn't have for weeks that was on the IEP. And this was all transitional changes, systemic issues, where my IEP was approved in middle school, and when we transitioned, the para wasn't available there. And, you know, that resulted in him missing school. So my kid is not the only one missing school because they don't have a bus, a para, a bus with a driver, a bus that can take a wheelchair, a bus that is small enough for their needs, a bus that has heat on a day where it is 19 degrees outside, a bus that has air conditioning when it's 103 degrees outside, a bus that has a functioning lift, a bus that has seat belts that connect to each other, so that students can actually wear the seatbelt that they legally are required to have. So I just want to take us back to everything that's happening before we get the kids in the building to teach them. We haven't touched instruction. We haven't touched budget. We haven't touched resources because we can't get our kids to school. So I want to highlight that. And I also want to highlight that the kids getting to school shouldn't be getting here at 9, 10 o'clock. They shouldn't be getting home at 5, 6 o'clock. They shouldn't have to wait outside on a line of hundreds of buses. And that creates, if you're living in Co-op, you know about the Bartow Bay Chester traffic. You gotta go to work. If you don't leave really early, you are really late, because you will be sitting there with the bus traffic while our students are on those buses waiting to get inside, waiting to get to their education that they are mandated to have. If the parents brought the kids to school at 10 o'clock, the parents are getting ACS cases. You can't call ACS on the bus, but we can all come to a table and have a conversation about how we get these kids to school, how we get these employees their EPP, how we get these paras parity and paid for every minute they're on the bus. So if that bus is late, that they get that extra pay. That if that bus route finishes before their contract time finishes, that they got paid for being on that bus with that student. So I just want to highlight those few issues and think about that and take that with you. So the next time you see a bus at the light, the next time you're frustrated that bus line is getting you late to work, sign up on PIST on Facebook. Come join one of our action days. Come join one of our rallies at Tweed. Just sign up. Do a donation if you can't do that. Let somebody know. But we need help when you vote. Take a look and see if we get our referendum on there. And if you don't see it, ask why. Ask how you can sign our petition. Ask how you can help get our kids to school. Thank you very much. I'm handing it over to Sara.
Thank you. All right, we have just a couple of things left. One is an announcement I'm going to make that really piggybacks on what Rima just said. And the other is to ask people to come in front, and we'll take a couple of group photos. Johnny will direct you, I guess, and Lupe's going to use that camera for as well as whatever the video cameras can do. We are talking about the School Bus Bill of Rights campaign. It is a labor of love for students with and without disabilities, but it says take finances and volunteers, as Rima said. So just to let you know, the two convenient ways to go in your pocket, aside from today, and we have a bucket, and we have an idea of a raffle. I'm not sure, I might just, if we have time, we'll collect some more raffle tickets and do that. But As far as the internet, there's a GoFundMe that's called School Bus Bill of Rights Campaign. You can't miss it. Most of the flyers give you the short link for that. There's a Cash App, which is $PIST and we're trying to do a membership drive, so just $10 a year, and the membership also means you're committing to do these actions over the course of that year that Rima listed. So I'll leave it at there. Hashtag get pissed. Put our phone number in your phone if you want, 631-743-6296. That's also on all the flyers. And I have a couple of people still to acknowledge. Stephen Millies is over there and he's camera shy today, but he helped a lot to give out flyers to those hundreds of buses in the line out here today. Other people have given their sweat to this. We have some members who spoke at meetings throughout the last 2 weeks. We have a message of regret from Edward M. Mude, who's a Disabilities Committee Chair for Communication Workers of America Local 1180 with a lot of the city agencies. They are endorsers of the Bill of Rights, and he just couldn't handle the code. I'm forgetting people. I know I'm forgetting people, but when we post the video, when we post the photos, we'll have, you know, the explanation. And I know that Mr. Hartridge sent flyers home, and we talked about that earlier. So out of respect for our beautiful interpreters who have to end their contract with us today, let's end and please gather, if you're not camera shy, to come up and get this recorded, because you did a lot today. You came out and we know you're committed to this fight. Thank you. All right. 369, get the kids to school on time.
This is the part where everybody's not camera shy?
Right.
And come to take the picture. She said that just to be nice. As long as you got here when you got here. Really, Lupe?
I know.
We're gonna have to do like
We'll
the longest arm effort.
We'll do a couple.
We'll swap out. We'll swap
Yes.
out. We'll swap out.
Let's wait for.
But I feel like if I did it like long way.
Oh, that's what might get. You might be able to. Wait.
I might get everybody like this. I can. And if I do that, even more. I even have the ones that thought they wasn't getting the picture.
Like, yeah, thought you were, but
let
you
me
in
do
it
one with
too.
you guys. Okay, now we'll do like a regular.
Come on, Monica.
Johnny. You get in there, and then we'll swap. We'll swap after. Sarah, where you go? I got it. Oh, we got it. Come on. Stop it. All right. Wait, get closer. Y'all gotta get closer. No, they're good. You two. It's just you two. You look separated. You gotta come in. There we go. Oh, hold on. Okay. All right. Ready? Okay. One. Oh, wait. All right. We got this. All right. 1, 2, 3, and wait. Can I ask for one of you to take a picture with me? Thank you.
Like my arm is not that. That was whoa. But tell me we scooch it.
All right. Hey, Mom. All right. Yay! Thank you.
Maybe it's like PIST, please, so it's not like cheese.
I know.
I'm trying to get my book.
It's okay.
So we're
Guys, we got a resource fair next Saturday in the South Bronx, 800 Home Street. We'll send you flyers, let your families know, trying to bring the resources to the community. Next Saturday.
I don't. I didn't bring anything.